Hi everyone. Let's talk about would plus the verb to talk about past habits and routines. So in the video, you heard a story, the towel story, about a bad habit. The man said, "When I was young, my mother would get me into trouble all the time." Would get. So that's something that was a habit or routine in the past. This was because when I would go for a shower, I would always leave the wet towel on the floor behind me. My mother would go crazy, and she would chase me around the house and tell me to pick up the towel. To pick the towel up. I would always be in a bad mood afterward, and I would always stamp my feet. I was a typical teenager. So here we see the verb get with would get, go, would go, leave with would, and you see how it's split there with one of the adverbs of frequency. You can put always, often, usually, sometimes, never, rarely, seldom. Those words can go in between the two parts of the verb there. So would leave, would go crazy, would chase, would be, and you can see the adverb always in the middle there as well, and would stamp. And here's always again. So would plus the verb we can use to talk about a past habit or a routine, meaning something that happened in the past repeatedly, but probably doesn't happen anymore. So here's some examples. We use would plus the base form. The regular verb comes after would to talk about a past habit or routine. So for example, when I was a child, I would ride my bike to school. So this is a habit, something I did probably every day. I would ride my bike to school. I don't ride my bike to school anymore because I'm a grown-up. I'm an adult. I don't go to school. But in the past, it was my habit or my routine to ride my bike to school every day. When you were a child, you would eat candy every day. When she was a child, she would play in the street with her friends. So that means every day, every week, a few times a week, something that happened continuously or over and over and over again, a habit or a routine, not just one time, many, many times. When he was a child, he would have bad dreams. Again, not just one time, many, many times, over and over. When we were children, we would get very excited every Christmas. So Christmas 2000, Christmas 2001, Christmas 2002, Christmas 2003, every Christmas. When they were children, they would help their parents on the farm. If you live on a farm, you help your parents with the farm work every day, right? It's a habit, it's a routine in the past. And what do you notice here? I, you, she, he, we, they. Those are pronouns, subject pronouns. Then we have would, and then we have the verb. And it doesn't change, right? There is no S, no ED, no nothing. If we have would, and then just the basic form of the verb, we know we're talking about a habit in the past. So this is easy peasy. You don't have to do anything with the verb, just would and the verb alone. And we know you're talking about a past habit or routine. Okay, so I'm going to tell you my story now. So this is a picture of my grandmother's village, and I'm not sure when this was this was taken, but this is my grandmother's street. Her street was called Green Lane. So a lane is a small road. And this road went up a steep, steep hill. It's actually steeper today. They built the road up, so now it's even steeper. And the village is called Lamley, and it's in Nottinghamshire, or Notts for short. And Nottingham is here, and her village is just outside the city here, right in the middle of England. So here's my story. When I was a child, I would visit my grandmother every summer. I would visit. It was a habit or a routine. My sister and I would stay with her in her cottage. A cottage is a small house. And this is actually her cottage. I found on the internet a picture at the top of a steep hill. Every morning we would climb into bed with her. She would read us stories from the Little Gray Rabbit series. So these books are still in print. You can buy them today. They were my mother's books, and my grandmother used to read them to us every morning. After reading time, my grandmother would go downstairs and make us porridge, which is oatmeal, with lots of honey. So this she would do every morning. It was a habit or a routine. The boy from next door would come over in the mornings and play with us. Every time he was home and we were home, he would come over. Repeated habit. We would go into the fields behind the house to look for treasures like glass and pottery. My grandmother's village had been there for 1,000 years, and you could find lots of old pots and treasures in the fields. So we would go into the fields. Not just one time, many times we did this. In the afternoon, we would often visit my great aunt who lived in the village at the bottom of the hill. So we go down the hill and visit my great aunt. That's my grandmother's sister. And you notice how would visit has an adverb in the middle? Often, right? Not every day, but often. In the village, we would ride our bikes and scooters. That's a picture of my scooter. We would buy candy from the village shop, and we would feed the ducks at the pond. Now notice I have one would here. Would ride, buy, and feed. I only have to write would one time. You know the meaning goes with buy and it goes with feed. So we would ride our bikes and scooters, buy candy from the village shop, and feed the ducks at the pond. So I read the words buy and feed, but I hear in my mind would every time. In the evenings, my great aunt and uncle would usually play cards with us. There's another adverb. At 8 o'clock, my great aunt would drive us back up the hill. We would drink hot chocolate and watch TV before bed. Oh, I forgot a verb. There's the verb watch. So we would drink and we would watch. I don't have to write would again. I am lucky. I have very happy memories of my childhood. So that is my story using would. Okay, so this week you are going to write a complete paragraph on the discussion board. You will write about habits and routines from the past using would and the verb. So here's an example. When I was a child, I would play with my sisters outside every day. We would run through the fields and pick flowers. We would climb trees and pick apples. Sometimes we would bring food from home and have a picnic. We would always return home by dark. My mother would put us in the bath because we were filthy dirty. She would tell us a story and put us to bed. So that's an example of something that you could write. Use it as a model when you go to the discussion board. That model is there. I've also given you a sentence starter. So you can start your first sentence. So that will be your discussion board assignment this week. So we can all hear stories, and it can be about your childhood. It can be about when you were younger, when you lived in a different place. Any of those things would be totally fine. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Check out the next video, and we will look at contractions.